Hello, boys and girls. This is Fog, and welcome to the Fog's World 100 Centennial episode. That's right, 100 episodes of Fog's World, and we have a very, very special Fog's World episode for you today. We have over an hour worth of Fog's World goodness. I am super excited. I hope you are too. This is where it all began. We're standing in the spawn chunks, and on July 30th of last year, we had our very first Fog's World episode, and it all started in this spot. In fact, some of you may recognize that temple over my shoulder. Let's go back and take a look at that right now, shall we? Hello, boys and girls, it's Fog, and welcome to the start of a brand new series that I'm going to call Fog's World. And people have been asking me to do a Let's Play for a while, and now that 1.3 is here, at least in pre-release form, I've thought it's a good time for me to start a new world anyway, and I thought I'd bring you guys along for the ride. So, we're going to start with a brand new random seed. We're going to play in hardcore mode, and we'll start it generating, and while it's generating, we'll do some talking. So we're going to play on release 1.3. We're going to play in hardcore mode. I am going to keep backups. I will also keep a death counter. So we will keep track of how often we die, and if we die, we can revert back to our saved game and therefore not lose, hopefully, more than an episode's worth of work, because I will keep backups between each episode. So the other thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to work towards specific goals, which you'll see on the screen here. Let's go over what the long-term goals are. The long-term goal of any Let's Play, of course, is just to conquer the world and amass stuff. So that's pretty open. We'll just call that world domination. So there's our long-term goal. Short-term, though, what I want to do is I want to find an appropriate place to build our base. I'm going to be nomadic until I find where I want to build a base. And my number one criteria, this should be done generating by now, the number one criteria for a base is going to be easy access to the Nether Fortress. So I'm going to very quickly be going to the Nether and locating a Nether Fortress. That's like really early on my list of things to do, and until I've done that, I'm not going to set up a long-term base. I'd like to find a cow, I'd like to find chickens, and I'd like to get out of this jungle. Those are the... Oh, that is a forest temple, isn't it? I'm not sure we're really ready to take on a forest temple yet, but I think we're going to do it anyway. Now, I don't have a whole lot of experience with these things, so I'm not really sure. I know there are tripwires in here. I know that. And I don't really have... Yeah, we're going to have to come back, because I don't have any armor. Alright, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit F3. We're at 285, 226. And this is what that structure looks like today. It's a little more overgrown. And we have since come down and looted it, of course, of much of what was here. Never did get those square blocks. Might want to get those. But this is what the structure looks like today. We've come a long way in 100 episodes. There's no doubt about it. Things have changed. We're no longer on version 1.3. We are, in fact, now on version 1.6, which has just come out. Hopefully all of you have it by now. But my, what a difference a year has made, hasn't it? We've seen lots of changes in the game, and we've seen lots of changes in Fog's World, particularly since those early episodes. As you heard in that little clip, one of my initial goals was to find a good location for our base, and I had thought that a great location for the base would be somewhere near a nether fortress. Mostly because at the time I was thinking it would be a good place to build a mob grinder. Back in the day, Blaze farms were a really good mob grinder, a good way to get XP. This was before people had done too many of the big Enderman farms. And since then, of course, we've built a base near a stronghold so that we could get to the end, and we've got an Enderman farm out there, and that actually has turned out to be a superior choice. But yeah, those early days we were trying really hard to find a nether fortress so that we could place our base out there, and we had a few missteps along the way. Let's go take a look at some of that footage, shall we? You're not very good at this, are you? Oh yeah, gas tier. This has got to be the most boring video ever recorded. I could put this on a loop and we could just watch this for hours. It would be hypnotic, wouldn't it? Oh, you turkey, quit running away. Come on, fire again. Got him. Aha! Ladies and gentlemen, we have found another fortress. But there we go. Now, before we enter there, let's go to our book and record where we are. Oops, which would be better to do, easier to do if we actually turned that on. Okay, we are at, let's see, Nether Portal to the village is at 8371, so we've walked quite a ways. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. So, Nether Fortress is at 134 and negative 641 in the Nether. Done. And now let's go through it and see what's on the other side. Hopefully we're above ground and it's day. We are above ground, but it is not day. Where are we? We are above an ocean. Okay, well, not quite what I had in mind. God dang it, fun. Don't die, don't do it. No! Oh. Well, gentlemen, that is our first death. We did find a nether fortress, but the nether fortress that we found is way too far away. Come on, fire again. Fire again. Fire again. Ah! I'm gonna die. Again. No! Fingers crossed, people. Fingers crossed. There we go. And we're in the middle of the plains. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This is much better. And here we are in that very same location. This is the area that I would later come to call our outpost. And, yeah, we had a couple of deaths with that first adventure into the Nether, didn't we? I believe we had something like it's like 2 deaths. I think we had 10 deaths so far. Yep, 10 deaths so far. Obviously, we got this book, the Book of Locations, where I actually keep track of all the places I visited, and as you can tell on the first page, I keep track of our death count. We got this book before we even had a bow, which is what contributed to so many of those deaths in that jungle, or in the nether there. It's been a long time and we've come a long way. Obviously, we built this up, added a tower over there from which we can kill Endermen. We added a little netherwort farm and a sugarcane farm. This became a temporary base while we tried to decide where best to place our final base. By now I had started to rethink my original plan of setting up the base near a nether fortress, and I had changed that plan in favor of setting up the base near a stronghold, because I wanted easy access to the end. And that turns out to have been a fantastic decision. I had originally made that choice thinking, well, I don't really want to be in the middle of the ocean, and I don't really want to have to be so far away from spawn, because I knew that would put me a long way away from an end portal. But I ended up in the middle of the ocean anyway, as we can see here. Let's get some orientation going here. Which way? Yeah, I kind of thought so. We're heading due west, and it popped. Oh, jeez. That sucks. That really sucks. Okay, well now we're down to 7 of them. Have to be careful, don't we? We'll go a ways, and we will throw another one and see where it takes us. I have a suspicion we are going to find that our stronghold is in the middle of the ocean, which isn't really a problem. I don't mind that, actually. That's not a bad place for it at all. In many ways, that will be very convenient for us. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oh, over here. Where? Looks like right below us? Oh, yes. We're here. We are here. Down here and see if we can find our ender pearls. There they are. They're at least, yeah, that was all of them too. So this is good. This is really good. We're going to dig here. And, how do I want to do this? I think what I will do is put this on the bar, and I am going to just dig a few down here, and I will go down and then I will block off the top. Okay, here we are. Perfect. Oh, I hear a zombie already. Okay. Today we're going to play Who Wants a Zombie? Not I. Okay. Bingo. And now we know where it is. So what was the sticky piston for? I will show you what the sticky piston was for. This is what the sticky piston was for. Some of you may recognize this. This is an X-ray machine. And that, boys and girls, is a stronghold. So sure enough, we are indeed directly over a stronghold. We have found it. Awesome. And that is going to be the nucleus of our base. And indeed it would become the nucleus of our base, and this is that location right here. That tower is built on exactly the same spot we built that very first ladder. And so here we are. Now, obviously, we've made a lot of changes here, and we'll go over what some of those were. But before we do, I want to get around to answering a few questions before we move on. So, I'm not going to mention anybody by name because, quite frankly, I can't remember who all asked what question. But I do appreciate all your questions. I'm going to answer some of them now. I'll probably answer some of them later. So first of all, a lot of people want to know why I chose to do a hardcore world, particularly since I'm saving backups and so the game doesn't end when I die anyway. Well, the reason I chose to do a hardcore world as opposed to a regular world is, first of all, the mobs are a little bit harder because we're playing in hard mode. Also, I like the fact that when we die, there is a penalty, and it's a penalty that's bigger than just, oh, all the stuff you're carrying gets dropped on the ground. Dying in Fog's world means a significant loss of work, because while I do keep backups, I don't keep them ultra frequently. I usually back up before I film each episode, and I very seldom back up in the middle of an episode unless I know I'm going to be doing something particularly dangerous. What that means is if I die, I have to roll back to the beginning of an episode and start all over. And if I'm doing a large build, that's particularly painful. Obviously, that hasn't happened too often. We only have 10 deaths, but it does still create an additional challenge. It also has had a few side effects that I didn't quite think through at the beginning, but that I still really like. For instance, we can't use a bed to teleport ourselves back from the end without, when we went to the end to fight the dragon, we had to beat the dragon. We couldn't die to the dragon without restarting the game. And so that was an interesting little side effect. I can't use a bed to teleport myself from a distant location in the world very easily. Things like that. You could do that in a regular world. You can't do it in a hardcore world. I like that. So another question people often ask is, what gaming hardware do I use? Well, I am recording this right now on my own very high-end iMac. This is a beefier iMac than you can buy in an Apple store. This was configured specifically to do video editing. I bought it online from Apple so that I could upgrade all of the hardware in it. Now, it's not super special because obviously anybody that wants to can go to apple.com and order one of these, but it is a little beefier than what you would get in the Apple store. So it's a very nice system. Why do I use Mac? Well, because for many years I was doing iOS development, writing software. I am a software designer. I was writing software for the iPod and the iPad, both professionally and as a hobby. And so if you're going to do development for an Apple product, you have to use a Mac. There's no two ways around it. Before that, I spent many, many years as a developer on various Microsoft products, and I was a Windows developer. I've worked on Windows, I've worked on Microsoft NT, and when I say worked on them, I mean actually on those development teams. I spent nearly 2 decades working for Microsoft as a Microsoft employee. I no longer work for Microsoft. These days, I work for a company in the Seattle area, the greater Seattle area, a large company. I am a software engineer. I am a lead of a team of developers working on ASP.NET software, and that's a relatively new development for me. I've been in that particular position for several months now. So that leads to the next round of questions that people often ask, which is, what will you do when you get 100,000 subs, or are you ever going to quit your job and do YouTube full time, that sort of thing. People, I have nearly a quarter century experience in the software industry. I am a very senior software developer leading a team of developers. I am pretty well paid for what I do. There is no way I could ever make enough. I hope these words come back to bite me, by the way. There is no way I could ever make enough money making YouTube videos to make me want to quit my day job. It's just not likely to happen. I would be shocked if that ever happened. So I do not consider YouTube a career path. This is strictly a hobby, and it's never going to be more than a hobby. From what I'm thinking, I don't see that ever happening. Now, that said, I would love to be proven wrong. This is a fun thing to do. I love making YouTube videos, but there's no long-term career here, people. Even people that do YouTube full-time that are supposedly making a living doing YouTube videos, most of them are making a fraction of what I make now. And these are single guys who, we've had an escapee. I'll have to go kill that chicken later. These are single guys by and large who do not have families, who do not have large mortgage payments and things like that. For them, YouTube can support them, but you're not, it's not going to replace my job. It's just not. Next question. Why do I always use the default texture pack? I always use the default texture pack because, quite frankly, I like it. I like the retro look of vanilla Minecraft. I like that 8-bit look. I'm an older guy. I'm in my late 40s. I grew up in the 80s playing Pac-Man and Space Invaders and Asteroids, and with an Atari console in my home that I played quite frequently. I wrote my first programs on an Apple II computer. Well, that's not quite true. The first computer I owned was an Apple II Plus computer. And that retro look appeals to me very much. The other reason I stick with the default texture pack is that I want people to be able to recognize what I'm doing in my videos. And if I go to a strange texture pack that people don't recognize, it becomes harder for people to recognize which blocks I'm placing in the game. So that's another reason. Next question people often ask is, why do I play with view bobbing turned off? And the simple answer is, I just don't care for it. Seeing things bounce around on my screen kind of makes me a little motion sick. I just don't like the look. And I know some of you really like that look, and I even know that there are some people that get a little bit annoyed that I play with that turned off. I'm sorry. It's my game. It's my world, my rules. So sorry. I prefer the view bobbing off. That's just a personal preference. And of course, a lot of people want to know if I'm ever going to show my face on camera. And sorry, probably not going to happen. I'm not going to say never, but I don't really see a need to do that. I do value what little anonymity I still have, and that's just not something that I feel needs to be done. So, sorry. But I am a devilishly handsome guy, and so, take that for what it's worth. I have been told I'm the second most handsome man in the world, and yes, that is an inside joke. Anyway, that's enough questions for now. We'll answer some more questions a little later. But for now, let's get back to looking at how this world has changed. Once we started setting up shop here, the next step for me was getting a base, and that meant building a mob grinder. And I really hate doing more work than I need to do, so I thought, well, let's build the mob grinder in the sky, so we don't have to worry about lighting up surrounding caves. We can control all of the mobs spawn in the area that way. And so we built our first mob grinder. And that turned out to be a really great idea. Well, that was then. This is now. We've since completely rebuilt the mob grinder, added a mob sorter, changed the tree farm around, got rid of the chicken farm, added in all of these farms here, changed around the farms over here a bit. But you know, all in all, it hasn't changed all that much. It served us well. But that isn't the only thing that's changed, of course. The big changes are down here. And this is the end product. We have a lovely garden park with a pasture biome and a farm and a snow biome and a swamp biome and a desert biome with a lovely cactus farm and, of course, a mushroom biome. And you can't have a mushroom biome without one of these guys. The night fog wore his wither skull and made mischief of one kind and another. A testificate called him bully, and Fog said, "I'll beat you up." So he was sent back to his base, and no one would trade with him. That very night, in Fog's room, a tree farm grew, and grew, and grew, until his jungle tree hung with vines, and the world was all around. And an ocean tumbled by, with a private boat for Fog, and he sailed off through night and day, and in and out of weeks, and almost what felt like a year, to where the wild mushrooms are. And when he came to the place where the mushrooms are, they really didn't do much of anything. But still, Fog tamed them with the magic trick of staring into all their beady eyes without blinking once. And they were indifferent. So Fog called himself king of where the mushrooms are, because why not? And Fog was lonely and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. So he decided to make a note of his location and return home. The mushrooms roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and, well, no. To tell the truth, they still didn't do much of anything at all. But Fog stepped into his private boat and waved goodbye and sailed back over a year and in and out of weeks and through a day and into the light of his very own base, where he found his cake and pie waiting for him. And it was still hot.
And that, boys and girls, is where little mushrooms come from. Now, from time to time, I get questions like this one. Hey, Fog, what is your favorite build? And I gotta tell you, I'm not really sure which one is my favorite, but this one down here has to be pretty darn close. This is my silverfish cannery. And yes, I got the idea from Etho, who built a similar silverfish machine. But of course, it's my own design. I didn't copy his design, I made my own. And I'm pretty happy with it. This thing will, in a reasonable amount of time, fill a room like this one with silverfish infested blocks. It also turns on these lights, so when the room is full, all of those lights are on. Now you may ask, what are you going to do with a room full of silverfish infested blocks? Well, one thing you can do with them is let all the silverfish out and get yourself a full bar of experience. All right, let's let these guys out. We should be ready to go. Punch a few of them here. I can't reach them. Pity I don't have any snowballs on me. That's okay. Yeah, I want to stand far enough away that the poison doesn't get me too. There we go. Probably going to need to do a second poison potion to get them out of there a little faster. Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, it did get me that time. Oh well. No worries. Okay, well they're all out. That's good. Get them right down underneath us. Look at them all swarming down there. Let's kill them. Yeah, doing it this way does take a few damage potions. Very good. You know what? Rather than go and waste another damage potion, let's come down here. We'll absorb all those energy orbs right through the door here.
And then we can go down and kill those guys. Yeah, you can see that our poison brought out every single one of those guys. All right. Go up top, we'll drop down on them, kill the rest. Not too many of them. We can take them. There we go. Took us just past 30, as it should. There you go. So that's one thing you can do with it. But another thing you can do with it is this. Hello, boys and girls, it's Fog. Welcome back to Fog's World. This is episode 30, and somebody has made a big mess near my silverfish cannery. What is this? Oh, that's right, it was me. Yeah, this is looking really ugly, but there's a method to my madness. All of this dirt is temporary, and what it is it's a channel for the silverfish. We're going to let them out, and we're going to lead them all the way along this little path. And we have a couple of little drops like this so that they can go this far and can't go back, since they can't jump up 2 blocks. Here's another one. So we're going to release all those silverfish and lead them down this merry path through here, and boom, down here, over here. Can't affect wood. We're okay there. We're okay. So this is all materials that they can't infect. We're going to lead them all the way over here and out into this area here. And this, my friends, is a slime chunk, actually between this square and that square and that one is a slime chunk. There's actually a slime chunk over there as well. Is that everybody? Is that everybody? Oh yeah, that's everybody. Okay. Alright, here's where it gets interesting, people. Step 1. I'm a little nervous. Open the door. Don't you come up here. Come on, everybody. Come on. Okay, I need to get a bunch of potions. Now I have moved a bunch of potions into these chests over here. So let me get over here. Right here, we want a bunch of poison potions. There we go. That's a few poison potions, don't you think? Let me get back up away from these guys again. I want them to spread out on me again. Alright, and let's see exactly how many blocks we've infected with silverfish, shall we? Whee! Oh, there have to be more than that. Surely there are more than that. There we go. Bingo! Now that's fun. Alright, boys and girls, I have been at this for close to 2 hours now. And I'm reaching bedrock. That's good. And I think it's time. I'm out of poison potions. I have been for a while. I've been having to kill them by hand. And at this point, all I can do is kill them off. And that ought to actually be somewhat effective at this point, I think. So let's gather some together, and we will
kill them. But yeah, I got some cleaning up to do, don't I? There's some diamond in there, some gold, a lot of iron. But that's a job for another day. At some point I'd like to try this experiment again, but I think if I were to do it again, I would do it with a much smaller cross section. Instead of doing a 20 by 20 section, I think I'd stick to more like a 10 by 10, because then I think the potions would be more likely to hit all of the silverfish, and it wouldn't take nearly as many of them. This is what that chunk looks like today. We actually opened up both slime chunks, took them all the way down to bedrock, and built a little slime farm here. A little way to harvest slime balls. And that's what we've done with it. We've also done a few other projects down here. One project of note is our little minecart launcher, and this launches and collects minecarts, and this is our subway, which leads us out to the jungle. And then, of course, there's this. This is the automated storage room. I still haven't finished this. I've only gone down about 2 levels. Actually, not even 2 levels. One of these days I'll get around to finishing this project, but it's a huge project, and it's a project that I don't need. And honestly, I was more interested in perfecting the concept than I was in actually building this. This is a row of hoppers and a bunch of item sorters built from hoppers. It comes all the way down to bedrock, as you can see. This is a huge project, and honestly, I don't really have time for this. But it was fun to get it this far. Now, my other favorite project, speaking of that sorter, has got to be the iron farm. So, like I said, we're going to build 3 of these guys. We're going to build them in an equilateral triangle based upon the center of our base, just like everything else we've done. I mean, we have an equilateral hexagon for our base right now. We're going to build an equilateral triangle. Now, I did some math, and if we want to make sure that each of these villages is at least 85 blocks apart, then we need an equilateral triangle whose sides are 85 blocks long. Pretty simple, right? Okay, well, the tricky part is figuring out where the center of that equilateral triangle is. And so here's the math for you guys, okay? The center of that triangle is, if you take your right triangle and divide it in half, then you're going to get a line that runs right north, well, let's say, actually, this is east and west. I'm facing west right now, okay? So imagine a line right here, straight down the middle of our equilateral triangle, okay? And there's going to be a short side to the line, to the center on that line, and a long side. The short side is usually designated mathematically as a little r, the radius of the inside circle. And the formula for determining the length of little r is the length of side times the square root of 3 divided by 6. In this case, that's 85 root 3 equals 24. Damn, that's a change. 24 is good enough for what we're doing. The other radius is the radius of the circumscribed circle, our circle. And that's the r, which is 85 square root of 3 divided by 2, which in this case is 48. So what we need then is we need 24, and 48, so there's 24, and 48. Okay, and we just have, we're going to count from the steps, right? So, alright, this is like, let me try, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that is how we got the iron farm. And what happens, in case, for those of you that are not familiar, the iron golems spawn on those pads up there and they fall down here through the ocean into vents like that one. There are 3 vents scattered around this area. They fall down in there, they fall through the lava burns them up, And all of their drops run through a series of tunnels right over to this spot right down under here. When we first built our iron farm, all of our drops fell right through there and into the end portal. And they went to the end so that they would be out of the loaded chunks, so we didn't have to be around to collect them. That way they could accumulate in the end, and we could go through there and collect them and put them in chests. But now that we have hoppers, we've replaced that drop with a hopper. And of course the hopper pulls everything over here to our big sorter. And all of our drops end up here and here and so on. Alright, well I guess this is the point in the episode where I need to do a little bit of Q&A. So let's answer some more questions that people have. First of all, a lot of people want to know where in the world I live. There's been some confusion about that. I am in fact American. I was born and raised in the United States. I grew up in the San Francisco area. I now live in the Seattle area, and yeah, American through and through. Sorry, I know a lot of people thought differently. I do speak Portuguese, which is part of some of the confusion, and I have spoken a little bit of Portuguese in our episodes in the past. Eu falo português pouco. But I am not Brazilian, I just speak it a little. Now a lot of people want to know why I speak Portuguese. The reason I speak Portuguese is because I spent a couple of years when I was in my early 20s living in and around Rio de Janeiro, and that's where I picked it up. So I do really love Brazil. I love Brazilians. I love Portuguese. And I speak just enough of it to confuse people a little. But I'm far from fluent in the language. So hopefully that will clear up some of those questions. I've also had a few people ask me what I think about the politics that's going on in Brazil these days with some of the unrest around various political issues, some of which instigated by the fact that the Olympics and the World Cup are going on in Brazil this year. I try not to get involved in that kind of thing because I'm not Brazilian. So honestly, people, my opinion doesn't matter a whole lot on that subject. Brazil, it's your country. I love it, but it's yours. And I don't want to tell you how to run your country, because that's not my place. It does sadden me whenever I see unrest anywhere, but on the other hand, I realize that sometimes, a little political upheaval is justified to instigate change. I just ask that, people be kind to one another, be safe, Don't ruin somebody else's day just because their opinion differs from yours. Try to be a positive force to instigate change. Those are the kinds of things that I believe in. But like I said, it's not my country, not my place to say. I like to say that this is Fog's World is my game and my rules. My world, my rules. Well, same applies for Brazil. It's your world. It's your country, your rules. So there you go. I will say this, that when I was there in the 80s, the political situation was significantly different from the political situation today. And I am extremely proud of how far my favorite South American country has come in the last 30 years or so. It's been amazing to see. So keep it up. Vai Brasil. Okay, other questions that people like to ask. How did I get involved in Minecraft? Well, I've always been involved in video games. One of the reasons I got involved in the computer industry in the first place was because of my love of video games. I'm part of that first wave of video game generation. So that's always been something that I've been very interested in anyway. And I actually spent a certain amount of time as a video game developer. I worked for Microsoft's sports game studio. I worked on NFL Fever and some of the other sports games such as Amped and Top Spin and some of those other games that came out of that studio before it was closed down. And very, very excited and proud to have done that. It was one of the better experiences in my career. I'm very glad I got the opportunity to do that. The reason I no longer am doing it is because while I love the industry, it's very, very, very unstable. And being a family man and needing to pay the bills and put food on the table and things like that, I had to weigh my love of games against my need to, earn a living. And I decided that that wasn't the place for me to be long term. So how did I get involved in Minecraft? Well, like I said, I've always followed the gaming industry and particularly the indie game industry. And when I started hearing about this kind of crazy open-ended sandbox game called Minecraft, it piqued my interest. At one point, my oldest son was pretty into Minecraft, and I think the first time I ever saw the game outside of YouTube videos was when my son was playing it. And that's kind of how I got my initial first-hand exposure to the game. And finally I broke down and decided, well, what the heck? And I went ahead and bought a copy, and this was, of course, long before the release. This was in the beta days. I was not involved in the alpha, but I was part of the beta. And there you go. That's why I'm here. Now, what's my favorite part of the game? That's another thing a lot of people ask. What do I like most about Minecraft? What attracts me to Minecraft? Well, for me, the thing that interests me most about Minecraft, it's the open-endedness of it. I love that the game is very much what you make of it. It's basically, it's like a souped-up Lego set on steroids. You can do anything you want to do. You can build anything you want to build. If you want to go out and kill mobs, you can do that. If you want to build a world, you can do that. If you want to make a map and have your friends go through it, you can do that. The possibilities are endless. So, yeah, that's one of the things that I like best about Minecraft. It's what you make of it, whatever you want to do. And that really, really appeals to me. I really like the indie game industry in general. So another thing that people ask me a lot is what kinds of games I like other than Minecraft. And that's a pretty long list. So some of the other games that I've enjoyed, well, I've played, lots of classic games from the 80s. I loved the old classic adventure games. I loved the original Ultima series. I got heavily involved in Ultima Online when it first came out. What other things? The Diablo series has always been a favorite. Some of the more modern stuff, Don't Starve has been pretty fun. And, yeah, all sorts of stuff. So I have pretty eclectic tastes. Play all sorts of things. I do tend to favor games that don't involve a lot of Twitch gaming because I thought there was some more. I thought I'd seen some more down here, but I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. Yeah, I tend to favor thinking games over Twitch games. And part of that, I'm sure, is just that, I'm no longer 14. That's a big part of it. But, yeah, all sorts of things like that. Well, I think you've probably watched me mine long enough and you've heard me ramble long enough, so let's continue with our, let's continue talking about Fog's World, shall we? Well, as we approach the Nether Hub here, we're kind of running out of time. We don't have time to show you everything in Fog's World. It's just impossible to cram all that into one episode. But there are a few more things I wanted to show you. This is our Nether Hub. It isn't too terribly pretty or elaborate, but it gets the job done. We have paths that lead out to the snow biome and out to the desert village, the snow biome, the Nether Fortress, where we have our ice tray. Our sand quarry is out that way. Out that way is the mushroom biome and the outpost. And I've had a lot of people ask about my enchanted gear, what gear I carry with me, so I'm going to really quick go over that. So here we have my helmet. The brain box is protection 3, unbreaking 3, respiration 2, because I work underwater a lot since I have an underwater base. Now, bear in mind, these are not the best possible equipment in the game, but they're good enough, and I don't want to put every enchantment on them because then they get too expensive to enchant, and this is more than good enough. The tank top has protection 3 and unbreaking 3. The hot pants have fire protection 4. Feather falling boots are blast protection 4 and feather falling 4. My sword is a flaming sword with knockback 2, sharpness 5, fire aspect 2. Heart piercer, my bow is power 5, punch 2, infinity 1. Caving special, efficiency 5, unbreaking 3, silk touch 1. That's what I was using caving with, doing my caving. Woodsman's dream is my axe. It's efficiency 5, unbreaking 3. The sod buster is a silk touch 1 shovel with efficiency 4 and unbreaking 3. And of course, Midas touch, my pick with unbreaking 3, efficiency 4, and most importantly, fortune 3, which is what I'll use to break up these diamonds later. So that's where I get all my, that's what I carry for enchanted gear. And of course, whenever I need more enchanted gear, I go to the Ender Blender. And of course, I get all my gold from Pork Tower. Well guys, I thought it would be appropriate to end our episode out here by the witch farm because this is one of the few remaining large builds we haven't visited this episode. And I thought I'd take the opportunity to answer a couple of more questions before we're done here. A lot of you have wanted to know if I've ever been approached by any of the more famous YouTube celebrities. Specifically, the names that come up most often are people like Etho and the Mindcrack group and people like that. The answer is, for the most part, no. I've never been approached by anyone from Mindcrack or anything like that. I do know that some of the people out there have heard of me. Particularly, I've been mentioned by Seth Bling and CoStar, and I know that Unhost is a fan, and also Mumbo Jumbo has been a subscriber for a long time, and I really like his stuff. He and I have traded chat messages every now and then. He's a great guy. Go watch his channel. And so yeah, so you know, I've had my brushes with greatness, but for the most part the answer is no. I've kind of been doing my own thing. And that leads to the next question that a lot of people have, which is, would I ever consider starting a server or joining a server or anything like that? And for the most part, the answer to that is no. I'm not going to start my own server because honestly, I don't have the time necessary to do server admin duties. That's a pretty large job, and I just don't have time for that. I have received the occasional offer to join a server, some of which have been quite tempting, I might say. But until now, I really haven't had the time to do that. And that leads me to my next announcement, which is, now that we've reached 100 episodes of Fog's World, I'm going to be making a minor change to this channel. No, Fog's World is not going away, but I am going to do Fog's World, beginning with this episode, on a once-a-week schedule. So no more double week, no more two-a-week release schedule. Up till now, I've been trying to release 2 Fog's Worlds a week and largely sticking to that. Beginning now, I'm going to be shooting for 1 Fog's World episode a week. And the reason I'm doing that is so that it will free me up to do other things if I want to. For instance, I'm thinking about starting a new series doing a CTM map. Or, maybe do some more Redstone things. We'll see. We'll see what I have time for. And maybe if the right offer came along to join in the right server, it would have to be a pretty good offer, though. I would seriously consider it at this point. It's a possibility. So I won't say no. But for the short term, the answer is no, I'm not on any servers, and Fog's World isn't going away, but it is going to once a week. And keep your eyes open for a new series, which is probably going to be starting here pretty soon. No promises, but probably going to happen soon. So anyway, as always, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please hit that like button as it helps people find me. And if you like what you see and want to see more, please subscribe. We'd love to have you here in Fog's World. So, once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming along for this 100th episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. And I hope that we do many, many more. So, to wrap things up here, tell your friends and tell your enemies to come watch Fog's World. And I will talk to you all again next time.